What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. LexxExpress checking in with some more wrestling talk, man. We're here to talk about AEW versus NXT. Who's the real loser? Who's the big winner? Well, look, the real winner here are the fans. Let's just face it. We got good wrestling from both companies, and they went head-to-head in a competitive matchup that will be one for the ages in terms of, the history between the two companies, right? With Edge switching over, making his debut match, Undertaker making his first appearance, John Cena showing up and showing out, Cody Rhodes being the special guest GM, special guest referee LA Knight. NXT was loaded with special appearances and special segments, while AEW had a lot of pure wrestling and focused in on what they do best, which is having titles switch hands, all-out brawls, and big stables with big implications in their storyline. And I'm talking about the Bullet Club and MJF. All right, I'm talking about Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. So I did watch both of them at the same time, and we'll get into that shortly. But first, let's go over the numbers. Everyone wants to talk about the actual numbers, and the average viewership rating for NXT came in at over 900,000. When you're looking at AEW Dynamite, it came in at 600,000. So on paper, NXT won. Now, you've had enough time to watch it on demand or through the social media outlets. Who do you guys feel put on the best show? Was it WWE NXT on Tuesdays, or this previous Tuesday we had AEW Dynamite? Which one was better to you in that head-to-head matchup? Forget about the numbers, man. That doesn't really justify the headlines. It doesn't justify, how many people saw it online in other sources. This is all about the people that watched it live, and I think even the ones that DVR'd it. So the numbers are obviously going to be tilted towards WWE side of things. They are more known, all right? They have a bigger impact on social media in terms of, casuals knowing that WWE exists. There's still fans out there that don't even know about AEW, believe it or not. Yes, I said it. It's just a fact of life. But it's not about the attendance in the arena. It's not about just the average viewers, because ultimately more and more people are going to watch it online through the social space like never before. Back then, during the WCW, Monday Night Raw Wars or whatever, it was all about the programming right then and there, because let's face it, there really wasn't any other way to watch it. So times have changed. Those numbers are not telling the whole story, and it's not really the focal point of this video. I just wanted to kind of break down both shows here and put my 2 cents into the conversation. We've had plenty of these conversations on Discord already, but I wanted to wait for those numbers to come back to use it to my point. So one of the things going into this Tuesday, I said, look, guys, this is not a war. All right, I started the conversation with that. This is not a war. But Lex, it's both. Yes, they are being competitive. They're trying to create a narrative, especially Tony Khan, who's apparently bitter with a lot of people on social media, replying and liking, and he's buying into this internet fandom and getting involved. I don't get it. But look, point is this. WWE is a worldwide recognized brand that has been around for so many years and has so much history that AEW just pales in comparison. AEW has only been around for 4 years, and people are already talking about it as if it was at the level of WWE. Now, to some, it may be even better than WWE has ever been. Let's face it, they take, what made wrestling crazy and fun to watch during the Attitude Era and have kind of, used a little bit of New Japan, ECW, and blended it into what AEW has become. AEW is an inspiration of so many different wrestling, programs from its past, and it doesn't shy away from being inspired by it. Now, this idea that they are on the same level playing field, that they are going to take out WWE or WWE is going to take them out. The only way WWE takes out AEW is if they mismanage their money, they mismanage their contracts, and they mismanage, pretty much setting up these shows. But ultimately, going forward, AEW will expand. They're getting more pay-per-views in 2024. They are going to be streaming on HBO Max, just known as Max now. They're going to be just everywhere, more accessible. In due time, more people will hear about AEW and more fans will be tuning in. Now, I do know that Dynamite won the Tuesday Wars when it was Dynamite versus NXT and Adam Cole was in NXT and all that. That to me was a given. They have so many superstars on there that it was a given that long term on Wednesdays or whatever day it was, they should win, right? They had the primetime players there. Whereas in NXT has always been more of a developmental system, with the exception of what happened this Tuesday. Now, why did AEW move to Tuesday this past week? It was simply because NHL season started up on TNT, and on TBS we had the MLB postseason. So obviously those contracts and the viewership numbers for those sports are much bigger than AEW's. So AEW got pushed forward to Tuesday night, and it was pretty much a one-time thing or whenever it's needed type of thing. NXT, just to stay afloat, needed to bring out the big guns, just to bring back their usual average viewers. They needed to bring the big guns. Otherwise, they would have lost some viewers to the Dynamite show, because a lot of the fans of NXT and their style are fans of AEW, I believe. So, again, I tuned in. I was a little underwhelmed with some of the stuff that happened in AEW, but same goes for NXT. I enjoyed NXT because they leaned more into all the stories they're doing, and they added layers to it alongside the special appearances that they had on the show. They were able to use the history of WWE to their favor. John Cena, come on. Doesn't get much bigger than that, right? But then you add The Undertaker. Doesn't get much bigger than that, right? Then you add one of the hottest superstars in Cody Rhodes and LA Knight. So they really utilize that to their strengths. And I think that when it comes to story and history, they produced the better show. But that was a given once the lineup was announced. And that's me not even mentioning the Asuka appearance as well. And when you go to AEW side of things, they brought in the hype with Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. That was a good match to open up the show in just pure wrestling, right? It was a barn burner, near falls, and it did not disappoint in terms of the action. Now, my problem with AEW is that the strength of their story, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Edge and Christian, the exception being MJF and the Bullet Club, they usually lean into, what these wrestlers did elsewhere. AEW struggles to create original content on its own, and they settle for dream matches or matches with no real context, no real build-ups. And that leads me to Orange Cassidy versus Phoenix. All right, Rey Fenix won the title off of Moxley. Moxley is still injured from that concussion and that head injury that he suffered. And he was supposed to have a rematch with Rey Fenix, and they put in Orange Cassidy, who lost the belt at the pay-per-view in September. So it's just been a couple weeks. Rey Fenix didn't really build up the title, didn't really have the chance to. And all of a sudden, just because it's Title Tuesday, to hype it up because it was moving to Tuesday for, the sports programming that was taking over their slot, Orange Cassidy retained his, not retained, but won the belt, became the champion again for the international title, right? And I get it. There's a character shift going on there. There's story building there, but I just feel like they dropped the ball with Rey Fenix and Wardlow having another squash match. Hobbs versus Jericho was forgetful in my opinion. And Lex, but you're not being critical of NXT. Hey, the Asuka match was pointless. The one against Roxanne was pointless in my opinion. I felt like, having Ilja Dragunov versus Dominic Mysterio, as much of a hype up that was also kind of a little waste of time, but it was decent, At the end of the day, most of the things both companies produce, as bad as it got, was still decent and enjoyable. And that's why I started off by saying that the winners are the fans. The real winner here was the fans. And the fact that wrestling is where it is today, where we can sit here and have a conversation about two separate promotions competing against each other, that's a healthy dialogue because it creates an environment that the fans can truly thrive in and enjoy after it being so stale for so long. All right. So I know I'm all over the place with this discussion here. I just wanted to, again, come on here and talk about the numbers, talk about how I felt about the Tuesday war. It did not live up to the WCW versus WWE battles. That's not what this is. I don't think it'll ever reach that unless AEW grows beyond our imagination a lot sooner than expected. But for 4 years that AEW has been around, they have done a fantastic job, adding to their roster and building this brand up where we can have a conversation in the same breath as WWE. That's amazing. But WWE is still WWE. All right. So I told you so, Ace. Ace was out here arguing that he was Team AEW. It was all about AEW. Edge was going to bring the ratings, and that Edge was going to bring in the fans and the sold-out crowd and all this nonsense. And I'm just like, bro, stop with the fake hype. Stop with the fake news. Don't overhype it. AEW, as great as they are still within its own bubble, and it's just incomparable. All right? You can't compare them in terms of these ratings overall and the views and the fandom. What you can compare is what you like from each product and your opinion. That's it. There's nothing else to say. So I think I've gone on rambling for enough time now. We're going to push the conversation to the live stream. We'll continue to discuss this. I'll see y'all real soon with some more AEW versus WWE talk. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.